In this section, we're going to be talking all about microorganisms that are eukaryotic. And so when you think of eukaryotes, the first thing that should come to mind is the fact that they have a nucleus. This is what's going to set them apart from the prokaryotes that we learned about in the last section. So our bacteria and our archaea are considered prokaryotes. That means they do not have a nucleus. But we're going to be talking all about eukaryotes, which means they do have a nucleus. So I have my handy dandy whiteboard. We're going to be talking about all of the structures that are present in all eukaryotes. And as you can see, there are 12 total. So there's going to be a lot more structures here than what we saw with bacteria. Bacteria all had a handful of common structures that all bacteria will have, and then a long list of structures that they could potentially have but are not present in all bacteria. We kind of have the reverse situation with eukaryotes. We're going to have a lot of structures that are present in all eukaryotes, and then a few structures that can be present but aren't present in all eukaryotes. So let's start going through the all eukaryotes list. So all eukaryotes, first and foremost, are going to have a nucleus. So we're going to write that down, nucleus, because that is a major component of being a eukaryote. They have to have a nucleus, and within the nucleus, they're going to have a nucleolus. So we're going to write that down. And in that same general area, we're going to have a nuclear membrane. And that nuclear membrane will have pores. So that's going to be the membrane that surrounds the nucleus. Okay, so we're going to have all things to do with the nucleus right here. Now, outside of the nucleus, there's going to be some other similar structures within and the boundary of the cell. Right, so some of those are going to be, let's start at the boundary, a cell membrane. All have a cell membrane. Then they're going to have actin filaments. They're also going to have microtubules. We're also going to have intermediate filaments. That one will take me a little longer to write. All right, and then some other structures that you might be pretty familiar with, or you've probably learned about them in previous biology classes. So you have mitochondria. We always hear about mitochondria being the powerhouse of the cell. That's because that's where we're going to derive most of our ATP, which powers all of our cells and basically every function of our body. So I'm using ATP right now to deliver this content to you. You're using ATP by sitting and listening, clicking play. All of those functions are going to use ATP. So mitochondria, obviously important. And a few more. So Golgi, the Golgi apparatus. You've probably heard of the Golgi before as well. Lysosomes. All right, and then we have a few more. That's going to be the endoplasmic reticulum. We have both the rough. We can abbreviate endoplasmic reticulum, ER. And the rough ER is rough because it has ribosomes. So the ribosomes make it rough. It's easy to remember because it's R and R, okay? So rough ER has ribosomes. So we're just going to make a note, ribosomes. And you will remember, ribosomes are the site of protein synthesis. This applies not only to eukaryotes, but they also are the site of protein synthesis in bacterial cells. So ribosomes were important in bacteria. They're going to be important again in eukaryotes. All right, so I said the rough ER and the smooth ER. All right, so those are going to be our all eukaryote structures. So again, we have 12 structures. These are going to be found in all of our eukaryotic cells. Now there's going to be a few that are found in some eukaryotic cells but aren't found in all. And some of these also are in common with the bacterial cells. So we have the flagellum. So if we pluralize, it's going to be flagella. So we might see some flagella in eukaryotic cells, but these aren't present in every single eukaryotic cell. So that's why they go on the some list. So we could have flagella, we could also have chloroplasts. So you'll probably remember chloroplasts again from previous bio classes. So chloroplasts are going to be instrumental in photosynthesis. So those are going to be in our plant type cells. Cell walls, which will also be in our plant type cells, or fungi and algae will also have a cell wall. And then we have the glycocalyx, which you'll probably remember that name. Oops, glycocalyx. So that was something that we learned about with bacteria. We're going to be talking about the glycocalyx of eukaryotes in this case, and centrioles. Okay, so as you can see, lots of structures that we're going to find in all of our eukaryotic cells. So as we learn about eukaryotes, you're going to know that all of them will have these, and they can potentially have these other characteristics as well. So a big one is going to be that nucleus. Remember, if it has a nucleus, it's going to be a eukaryotic cell. All right, so that concludes this section. It's really what I want you to focus on is the different structures that you will find in all your eukaryotes. And we're going to dive deeper into some of the specific types in just a bit.